Welcome everyone to today's webinar on energy stewardship. And today we're going to discuss and engage with you about energy stewardship and how Ohio Interfaith Power and Light can help you further your mission of environmental stewardship, sustainability, creation care. Now, we have everyone muted momentarily. We ask if you have any questions or comments, you type those in the chat box on the right-hand side of your screen. We'll address all your questions at the end of this brief presentation. And afterwards, you're going to get a follow-up email that will include a copy of the presentation, and a link to the recording and the presentation will be posted in the future on Ohio Interfaith Power and Light's website so that you can share that with others who may not have been able to attend here today. So again, I want to welcome you and introduce myself. I'm Justin Kale, a certified energy manager and one of the technical consultants for Ohio Interfaith Power and Light. My partner, Craig Foster, who's a professional engineer, will be joining us later in the presentation. Now, recently, Pope Francis laid out his vision about how we should care for our common home. So we're going to share some resources with you today that can help supplement what you may already be doing or help you get started in taking some action towards meeting our moral obligation to care for creation. With that, we're going to dive into the presentation and start off with kind of going through a quick checklist of what we're going to accomplish here today. We're going to assess our level of commitment towards taking action with our congregations. Within our faith communities, we want to be certain that our resources are deployed wisely and provide an example for others as we strive to manage our facilities effectively. We want to maximize their effectiveness, while at the same time we want to minimize their impact on the planet. So we will look at the mission and methodology of Ohio Interfaith Power and Light and how we can join with others who share the vision of climate action. So there are some complex actions like energy audits, equipment replacement, and things like that. A lot of moving parts. But there's also some simple steps that our congregations can take to make a difference, and we can begin those immediately. So we'll talk about those, and we're going to highlight some future webinars for which we believe you'll want to get plugged into. Now, you've already decided that protecting God's creation is a priority for your congregation. That's essentially why you're here today. So Pope Francis's delivery of the encyclical Laudato Si gave us a call to action to protect and preserve our common home, reminding us that we can always redirect our steps and we can always do something to solve our problems. So by reducing our dependence on fossil fuels through energy efficiency, which essentially means using less, whether that's through behavior changes, proper equipment purchases, or equipment changeouts, we can help position our congregation to take advantage of renewable energy, either now or potentially in the near future. So this enables us to immediately impact our environment, the environment around us. It has health benefits in our neighborhoods and communities when we use less electricity and heating fuel. So then our buildings now become better equipped to operate effectively. So this action also reduces the amount of money we spend on energy, and that can help us further our programs and outreach. Now, our society today will typically lean towards the philosophy of more is better, but I'm here to tell you today that actually less is more. So putting less in the utility bank account means you can put more into your programs. So Ohio Interfaith Power and Light works with these utilities through methods of outreach, advocacy, and programming to support climate conversation. So let's talk about how our congregations can join other faith communities throughout Ohio to make a difference. And yes, Interfaith Power and Light is a national organization, but Ohio has a chapter. And the mission of Ohio Interfaith Power and Light is to empower a religious response to climate change, to promote energy conservation, energy efficiency, and renewable energy. We focus on those tangible results in religious communities, putting our faith into action. And that means any person of any faith can contribute. If you go to Ohio Interfaith Power and Light's website, you'll find a brief 3-minute video which summarizes that message. And if you go to Interfaith Power and Light's website and you go to the About Us and Mission part of the menu, you'll see the mission as well as a brief 3-minute video. We're not going to show you that here today, but we would encourage you to visit that here after the presentation. Now, Ohio Interfaith Power and Light is a helping hand to guide you along the way in your journey to meet our moral obligation to creation, save energy, and save money. And through Ohio Interfaith Power and Light, you're connected with other faith communities with the Energy Stewards program, which helps you benchmark your building and see how you rank against other houses of worship. This tool also includes actions of low-cost steps to take, a user forum for technical questions, and the ability to share your own lessons learned. So now we've established there are many reasons why we're here, taking action to lower our bills, improve the health and well-being, as well as meet our moral obligation to take care of our common home. So in order to get started, we need to get the people involved. Now, what does that mean? Well, you want to form a green team. That's where we want to start. By forming a green team and joining Ohio Interfaith Power and Light's Energy Stewards program, you can then perform an energy audit. So these 3 actions will help you and your congregation to make meaningful changes. So the bottom line is we are protecting creation. So before we look at these 3 actions in detail, I want to remind you that you can type any of the questions you have into the chat box, and we'll address those here shortly. So at this point in the presentation, I'm going to turn things over to my partner, Craig Foster, who is also one of our technical consultants with Interfaith Power and Light.
Good afternoon, everyone. And as Justin has given me control and he mutes his microphone, we will get started on the next part of this. So as Justin just alluded, we talked about green teams and the Energy Stewards program and doing audits, and I'd like to cover those items now. Green teams used to be all the environmentalists in your congregation and wanted to push for actions around green themes like recycling and getting solar panels and going out and saving the whales and all those really good programs. But what we've come to learn is that green teams are different for every congregation or even every geographical area. Simply put, it's a group of people within your faith community which has a common vision. And each person on the team typically brings different talents to that team. For example, a recent congregation we worked with had the makeup of the green team as their pastor, their property committee chair, a building tenant, and a second congregation which rents the basement. This team of 4 is working to make changes for their faith community and finding support from within that faith community. One tool to support this effort is the Energy Stewards program. Energy Stewards is simply a web-based dashboard to track and see your energy use and to track the actions that you take. But it also has many moving parts to keep you moving in the right direction. It has a checklist of 85 action items, which will help with answering the question, what do we do? Some actions are as simple as checking building thermostats to make sure they match the building operation schedule. Other actions give you a step-by-step guide to getting started in the whole process. And there are actions about how to engage more people beyond the green team that are explained to help you get involved in the process. The Energy Steward subscription costs $120 per year. But I'm willing to guarantee you that if you use this tool to the fullest of its capability, you will easily save more than the subscription cost. Energy Stewards is also, as I mentioned, a dashboard for monitoring your building energy, environmental, and cost data. This is the home page that you would see once you're signed up. And it links with Energy Star to show how efficient your congregation is compared to other faith communities across the U.S. and Canada. Yes, just like the appliances you buy, your building can be recognized as Energy Star certified. The Energy Stewards platform and dashboard also has a forum for asking questions. Although it's a little hard to read at this point in time, this is an example of a technical question that was asked by a congregation about lighting products. They weren't sure what to do with their T12 fluorescent fixtures and were considering whether they went with high-efficiency T8s or LEDs. And we tapped into one of our lighting experts to help explain what the options were and what might be the best choice for them. So now let's take a glance at what an energy audit is and how it can help you. Ohio Interfaith Power and Light can help you with the performance of energy audits through the Energy Stewards program. Using Energy Stewards identifies where you are in terms of energy performance. It's a benchmark. And then it helps your green team perform a walkthrough audit with the help of Interfaith Power and Light. So let's look at some simple concepts to consider because this is your audit. It's all about you. Each congregation has special needs, limits to funding, and a specific schedule. Is your congregation blessed with volunteers, but less blessed with technical knowledge about buildings? Do you have a felt need to address climate change as a congregation, but are unsure where to start in your efforts? Is your boiler about to give up a ghost, and you need to identify the best solution? These are all good reasons to have an energy audit. This slide is an overly simplified look at energy audits, sometimes called energy assessments. It ranges from a simple building walkthrough review, which can be completed quickly, to an intense review including substantial engineering analysis that can take quite a while to perform correctly. Actually, most houses of worship we see benefit most from either a level 1 or a level 2 energy audit. So when we bring this all together, there's some ways in which you can have these energy audits completed. In some cases, level 1 audits based on our local utility and other grantor support can be offered for free by Ohio Interfaith Power and Light once you join the Energy Stewards program and form your green team. And level 2 audits may also qualify for specific rebates from your local utility. The level 2 audit requires much more engineering input than the level 1. In all cases, we have found it works best to engage the members of your team as a first step toward implementing a long-term approach to addressing energy use in your congregation. These steps of forming your green team, joining the program, and beginning to take action are up to you to begin. It's your job to give it the start, to get things happening in your congregation. We at Ohio Interfaith Power and Light are available to help you and look forward to that opportunity. The challenge is for you to begin implementing your program now. This concludes our brief overview of Ohio Interfaith Power and Light Energy Stewards program. In the coming months, we will have additional webinars to further discuss how you can move forward. And believe it or not, our webinars are structured around the 3 steps we've discussed today. Green teams, how to form them, what's their purpose, why do we need them? The Energy Stewards program, practical application of it, and energy audits. What can we expect, and how do we begin one? At this point in time, we want to answer your questions. As you look at the names here, if you need to make some contacts with people, I think most people on this webinar have already had contact from someone with Interfaith Power and Light. But we have those there as we think about questions. One question that we typically hear is, how much did that Energy Stewards program cost? What I would say right now, though, before I answer that is feel free, if you have any questions, to type them into the chat box on your webinar control panel. But yes, the software package is one that's purchased by Ohio Interfaith Power and Light, and in order to pay for that software, we do have to charge for that. It is $120 per year, and as I said earlier, we know that if you don't use it, then you spend $120 that you could have spent elsewhere. But when you do use the program to its fullest extent, we know you will save far more than the $120 investment.
Craig?
A second question that we... Did you have some Justin, you wanted to share with me?
Yeah, real quick. I saw we do have a second question, but I did want to mention to our attendees, we've launched a poll, and we'd appreciate your feedback on how valuable this webinar has been today. If you'll take a moment to answer that. We did have a second question about if you could tell me a little bit more about how my congregation gets Energy Star certified.
Sure. Thanks, Justin. As I said earlier, just as our appliances are certified Energy Star, buildings can be as well. And really the data for Energy Stewards resides in the U.S. EPA Portfolio Manager. And that program breaks buildings into different categories. There's 20 categories, of which houses of worship is one. The building is then compared, and your energy use is corrected for hours of use, for your climate, for the specific severity of the summer or the winter, and you receive a percentile score, which means a score of 50 is that you're right in the middle. 50% of houses of worship are operating with more energy use, and 50% are operating better than you are. A score of 75 allows you to apply for certification as an Energy Star building, and you're listed publicly as an Energy Star and can use that as you promote your environmental efforts. Are we seeing any more questions?
I have another question here, Craig. How many churches are already in the program, and how many have started and dropped out? Could you address that for us?
Wow, interesting question. We've had about 30 total participate in the program. What we have found is that your life in the program might be about 3 years, where you've taken full advantage of it and taken the opportunity maybe to share some of your experiences with others. And we currently have 23 still active in the program. This is just within Ohio. We're excited to know that it's just opening up the Energy Stewards part of this with Indiana Interfaith Power and Light. So we look forward to them gaining some more information and being to share with us, so we can share all our successes together.
Great, and yeah, the more the merrier. do have another question, and it pertains to, as you and I both know, the houses of worship also have other additional uses. And this question is, how do you deal with facilities that have several uses? Example would be like a school that also is conducted in a place that's classified as a house of worship.
It's quite frankly, we see that quite often. And a lot of times it's a preschool. We have done some audits where there was a elementary school, and even on a Roman Catholic campus. Of course, they had K through 12. So from the analysis standpoint, when we're talking about audits, it's still typical type buildings. When we talk about Energy Star certification and houses of worship, if there's a certain percentage of the square footage that is dedicated, say, to a school, then we would just enter in both categories. Say you'd have 20,000 square feet that's part of the house of worship, and 15,000 square feet that's the school. If it's multi-use, though, so what we see quite a bit is the nursery or preschool is also used by the congregation in their evening programs or on the day in which they worship. So in that case, we probably would not break out the square footage. But there's guidelines on how best to do that, and it's particularly we'll see two things. We'll see a school or a preschool or a nursery, or many times the old education wing has now been renovated and is being rented out to as offices to other nonprofits. But that's a good question. Thank you.
Okay, it looks like we have another question about pertaining to signing up congregations. Is there a common reason that congregations give for not signing up with the Ohio Interfaith Power and Light Energy Stewards program?
A common reason for not signing up, why they don't want to? I would say now we're talking about this marketing and sales mode. A lot of times when people say, I don't want to get involved in what you have, they don't give you the reason. I think one reason is, and actually some of the reasons that some of our congregations are no longer involved, is a lack of initial involvement. And that's why we think it's so important to form the Green Team first and make sure you have a core of people who want to be involved. We've had a couple cases where folks didn't sign up because the champion to make this happen, be the pastor or one congregant, one parishioner, didn't have the support when they went to do it, and so they ended up not getting involved. So with limited information, I'd say one of the reasons is not having enough engagement, not having that green team that's wanting to try to use the tool. Another good question.
Looks like we have one more. How do you handle if a congregation is purchasing green power and thus not emitting CO2?
Well, that's handled, you put that in as a part of how they're using power on the Energy Stewards site. Although purchasing green power, so getting certificates for wind power in Texas or in Indiana, there's a lot there, I think is not tracked. That's still, you're still purchasing power. If you have on-site generation, be it solar or even wind, then you are credited for that when you get your Energy Star score.
Great.
But I should say there's not a separate category for green power purchases from other providers.
Great. Okay. Well, it looks like great engagement, great questions. I don't see any other questions at this point. We'll take, we have a couple more minutes left in our time here. We'll go ahead and open up the audio. If anybody has another question that they would prefer to ask, I'll go ahead and unmute the the forum here. We do have a fairly small number, but we have some folks that are engaged here. So I'm going to open up and unmute everyone. If you have a question you want to ask, go ahead and ask it verbally. If we don't see any other questions, we'll go ahead and wrap up here.
So you can.
If there's any other questions, feel free to chime in.
Yeah, my plan is to have all Christmas. That was nice. Yes. And not
Is there any other questions today?
pulling on our conversation about fire. Okay. So as soon as we get go ahead from David White. Yeah. Because he needs to.
All right, I didn't hear any other questions, so at this point, we want to thank you for attending our webinar today, and we've discussed energy stewardship and why Ohio Interfaith Power and Light is a great resource to help you further your mission of environmental stewardship, sustainability, and creation care. Again, we'll follow up with an email that I have a copy of the presentation, as well as an audio link will be posted on the Ohio Interfaith Power and Light website in the near future so that you can share that with others who are unable to attend today. So again, thank you for your time and have a wonderful rest of your day.